we see you guys. Okay, I turned everybody off, but that probably turns me off too, and my computer's playing up, so just bear with us if it takes a little while to get it to work again. You should be able to see up there on the page that I've got tonight's lesson up. I've got the attendance choice set up there for you, and I did have a link up there to the latest coronavirus update information that is being put out to TAFE New South Wales students. However, that's actually not working at the moment. So if you just Google TAFE New South Wales coronavirus, they'll give you plenty of up-to-date information. And I believe they also sent you through a link on an email just today. So that would have come through. If you've got your emails directed so they come through to your personal email address, then you should be able to see this information as it comes through. Now, we've got 65 people there, so I just want to make sure that everybody knows about this. There's information that's come through for you, and you can check that. And we'll probably try and put a little header up here for each night for this unit. So this unit goes through for another few weeks. You can see here we are on the 16th of March, and we'll be going through until the 2nd of April, which is another 3 weeks. Okay, on the 2nd of April is the last night. There's another quiz that's coming up one night next week. So that'll be, we'll post more information about that as it comes up. But we've got 3 more weeks of this unit, and then we're pretty much done for this unit. And so we're all going along pretty good. Tonight, what I plan to talk about is understanding the NCC a little bit more on some performance requirements. And we're going to drill down a little bit more into some of the background of it. But before I get started, what I want to do is outline to you a little plan that we're going to operate here at the TAFE. And what I want you to do is for Tuesday nights is we're going to adopt what Wollongong used to do in the past. And we want you to stay at home and do your lesson tomorrow night at home. As you know, with what's happening with coronavirus, it could be if anybody gets a call that they need to self-isolate, then you won't be able to come to class. If a teacher gets a call or somebody in a local college gets a call to self-isolate, you won't be able to come to class, and we want you to prepare for that so that suddenly if you have to go or if one of us has to go, we can still operate from home and you can all jump online and still see, and it won't suddenly be a shock for you. So I know in my classroom here, if you come to TAFE tomorrow, I'm going to put you in a classroom downstairs and let you watch the recording from down there, or I'll probably just be at my desk and run it if you want to still be up here in this classroom that you can see around here. So you're all welcome to be here. But I want to operate on Tuesday night for the next few Tuesday nights as a trial, so that if we suddenly do get a lockdown, then you'll be able to stay at home and still join the classes, because our top priority is to help you get through this particular unit. And then, of course, the next units that are coming up. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure what's going to happen with Brett, because he's gone overseas, and when he comes back into Australia, he'll have to probably self-isolate for 2 weeks. So I'm not sure if he knows that or not yet, because he's over. He has a little bit of internet connectivity. Got an email from him today, and he said he's arrived in Bali okay. So he's got to get to his next destination and everything. But we want to do a little trial run. So tomorrow night, if you choose to come to TAFE, in my class here, I'll be able to talk to you before and after, but I'm going to operate from down at my desk. So it'll probably look a little bit differently. You may not see the rest of, you won't see the rest of the classroom in the background. Students are welcome to come up here, but you'll be on your own, and then I can possibly chat to you afterwards. But I would recommend that you stay at home tomorrow night and do a trial run practice for in case we get a lockdown. Okay. Are there any questions about that? Just type into the chat box here at the moment. For my Wagga group, I'm going to ask you to stay at home. For the rest of the groups, I recommend that you stay at home as well. The teachers will still be online and available. I have sent an email out. I think I got most of the teachers with that today, but a lot of them have been on class. So Can you just type into the chat box if you've got questions about that? And we just want to clarify this before we go on to tonight's lesson. So has anybody got any questions about that at all? Give you a couple of minutes to type into the chat box. In the meantime, while you're typing into the chat box, Nara, I'm just wondering if you can just let your students know what you'll be doing there. We want to do this as a trial so that if you do have a lockdown, everybody's able to keep on getting their lessons and be able to complete everything. Nara, can you hear us okay there? Nara, any students on it? Nara, can just ask your teacher to talk to us. Not actually sure if they can hear us there. Wollongong, Glenn, I can see you there. Can you indicate how your students going there? Just monitoring things since Thursday. So just Isaiah, just give us a ring, chat through with us, or give us a ring earlier. Glenn's part-time, so he is in and out with classes and things, but I can help you and look after you. All good there. Isaac, where are you from? Isaac, from Wollongong? Do we have anybody from any of the other campuses who can just let us know how that's going to work for you? So if we've got any difficulties with that, please get in touch with us. Now, I'm available. I'm going to send you all out a message after this. I'm available. Thanks very much, Nara. I'm available during the day, certainly Monday to Thursday, from 10 o'clock usually onwards. So if you need to contact me, you need to chase something down, then you can message me or ring me, and I'll help you with questions and stuff that you've got. So Isaiah, if you get stuck getting in touch with someone, just give me a yell and I can help you work through things. A lot of things I can solve for you over the phone, because a lot of the things that you might still owe from some units can just be answered over the phone, and we can get you through that way. So don't hesitate to give me a call. My number, if I can put it back up onto the screen there again, and I'll put it onto the big, onto the header page once the computer works for me being able to do that. Just take a photo of that or grab that phone number there, and you can definitely give me a call with that or message me. I see I've got 2 messages currently that I need to reply to, so I'll usually get them done after the lesson. First thing in the morning when I come in, I'll check the messages and go through them. So tomorrow night, don't come to TAFE if you can help it, please. Stay at home, do your lesson from home or from the nearest McDonald's or wherever you get your internet from. And that'll be the best thing to do, so we can make sure we have a dry run, so that if we suddenly do get a lockdown, then it's not all panic stations. All right. Now, if there is a lockdown, how are you going to know if there's been a lockdown? Any ideas on that at all?
You'll get an email.
You'll get an email. Okay. I'll send out an email if, for example, I get locked down here, which could happen if another staff member gets a confirmed case of coronavirus, then they may ask me to stop coming for 2 weeks. In that case, I'll operate from home and I'll send a message out to you all via Moodle. So that means you better make sure that you get your Moodle messages. And if you're not sure if you're getting your Moodle messages, you can see my page here. Just click on your name in the top right-hand corner, and you can go down to your preferences and make sure you've got your preferences so that it forwards your emails. You'll want to have your message preferences or edit your profile there somewhere, and just do a little search around there and make sure that you've got things coming to the email address that you check regularly. That's my most regular email address that I check, and that can be checked on my phone or my computer. And you need to make sure that you've got that set up such that you can get a message from us if we send it to you to let you know what's happening with your lesson. Before we go on tonight, are there any questions about that at all? So type into the chat box if you've got questions. We want to have a little plan now so that if things happen, it's not sudden panic stations. Any questions in my classroom? You're all good? Okay, so tomorrow night, you're welcome to come up here, but I won't be in the room. I'm going to be downstairs in my desk. Okay? At my desk.
Just in case.
I would say stay home. That's the best thing. Let's have a trial run. Stay home and run it from home. Okay? You're all good there, Glenn? Let's see a thumbs up from all the classes where they're all good. All right, so I'm going to get started on the lesson tonight. We'll just jump over here so I can open up a couple of things. Tonight we've got a couple of items we're going to go through. It's pretty good night actually. What I want you to type in here first is make sure you've completed the attendance. And then what I plan to do tonight is a little bit of work with you as we go. So the first question you're going to do, which will give you a little green completion box on the right, on the top right. Actually, I could do with getting a completion box there, so I'm just going to do the attendance choice for me. Give you a good example of how to do it. And I am at Wagga, so I'm going to save my choice. Thanks, John. Thanks, Isaac there. So I've recorded that I'm here and I'm on week C4, lesson C4. Oh, I've got a green one already. I'm missing a couple of other ones on those. Let's work on getting on today. So the first thing there is understanding the National Construction Code. What I want you to type into there is somebody's got their microphone on. Could you just turn it off unless you wanted to talk to us? So what I want you to type in there is, please describe your current understanding of the NCC. Don't worry about building classes, but how is it written? And how can a certifier ensure compliance for standard construction works or innovation? So just type in there a discussion topic.
Western Australia. Yeah, okay. That was the one bit I missed.
Righto. I'm just going to mute.
No, you said that twice.
Just make sure you've got your microphone muted, guys, if you're chatting there. So I'll turn it back so that we can see the discussion topic. If you just like to type in there for us, what your understanding of how the NCC allows us to make sure that buildings are certified correctly. Obviously, there's some faults with it and there's some errors with it because there have been lots of buildings that have problems, but hopefully they're getting better and better. So type in there so you can get yourself a little green completion box. What you understand by the process for being able to get your completions. So it's a book of standards that are minimum requirements. So very good, Blake. It'll either have some standards there and some minimum standards, or it will refer you to the minimum standard code that's the minimum standards that are going to be used for compliance. So that's good. Let's jump back and see if anybody else had any more to add there. We're waiting for a few more to jump in there. So give us an idea of, especially of how you believe it's laid out, because tonight you should have a real good understanding of how the code's laid out. Good job, Brody. You can jump in there. Let's have a look. Brody says it's what all trades must follow to complete their work to an Australian standard. Very good. So it's a standard that everybody can work to, so that we make sure that buildings are compliant. Isaiah's got one in there from Wollongong. Thank you for that. We've got a book of standards for all trades to follow as a minimum requirement. Good job there. Tarek, what did you say here? Let's have a quick look. You're a website for minimum compliance to base your building requirements off. It's used for all trades and is a reference. Very good. Common theme coming through there. What's Blake got to say? I think we haven't looked at yours yet, Blake. Maybe that was one we looked at first. We've got any more there? Let's have a look what Alex got to say. Documents for national standard, very good. So you're pretty right there. You're on track with a bit of an understanding of the National Construction Code. So that's a good little bit of a look at the National Construction Code, and it's actually broken down into a few different ways of how we can run our buildings. And so let's have a quick look. If you just refresh there now, I'm going to have a look at a document which is very, very helpful for you for future, for your quizzes and things. And I'll have to shrink this down a bit so that it fits onto the screen. And you can see from this document, this is pretty much what the construction code has at the beginning of it, right up at the beginning of the code. It's got the compliance levels, tells the performance requirements. So what something has to do. It has to be able to allow safe access. It has to be able to be healthy for people to live in. A building has to be structurally sound. A building has to limit the water being able to get into the building or something like that. It's broad statements that tell us broadly what a building has to do. It doesn't tell us in here what the height of a handrail has to be. It doesn't tell us in here how many steps we can have before we get tired walking upstairs and we need a little landing or something. Doesn't tell us any of those sorts of things. Doesn't tell us how to waterproof a building or what the minimum measurements are or the slopes for a ramp for people, for access for people who have a disability or any of those things. This is very broad, and it just says things like we'll look at in a minute. People have to be able to do this, this, or this, or the building has to do this or this. And then to be able to achieve those performance requirements, there's two ways we can achieve them. This is a little bit of a revision here. So we can have a deemed to satisfy solution, which is very specific. It's the old way of doing things and it'll tell us exactly what to do. Or if we've got a new product, we can have a solution that performs to the requirements, and that's something that's new. If you look at the next page here, we've got this where we've set that out for the 2019 building code, and this is pretty much ensure that the structure does not collapse, for example. Okay, and for example, it's like building the old way. So let's build to a standard method. It might be timber framing, but there's other things that you can do these days. And if you're going to go down a new method, then this is for people. They can use the compliance solution. They are able to use a performance solution, and they're the two main methods that are used for our buildings. Okay, so that's just an overview that often helps you here when you go through and do your. Just show the next one. When you go through and do and you do some of the work that you're going to do with your buildings, that's real helpful for you to be able to access that. Now I've got a PowerPoint that I'm going to run here for you and show through. Oh, that looks like that's going to be quite a large PowerPoint. I've actually got it on the hard drive here, so I'm going to open that up. And I'll get you all to just watch the PowerPoint, and then I'll be talking through with you. Oops. I'll talk through with you some of the main points that we wanted to talk about as we refresh it. And then we're going to go through a bit of a video that'll give us a quick overview of the information that we're dealing with here. And then I've got some activities and things that I'm going to work through with you as we go through it here tonight. That PowerPoint looks like that's going to take a little while to download. So let's just have a look here. I think I've got that there. I'll just grab this PowerPoint. The National Construction Code put some quite good PowerPoints on that are available on their website, and this is one of them that I've picked out a bunch of slides that I want to use to highlight to you, so that we're able to make sure that we cover our content of what we're learning here. So this looks like it'll take a while to run through. Here we go. Just going to take a few minutes to get this PowerPoint up and running. You can open it on your own page, or you can just watch it on the screen here. That is slow. Has anybody else been able to open it up okay? We've got a couple of errors coming up here. Here, this. Not really that big, but sometimes Wi-Fi together and it can slow it all down. That's taken a little while to download there. Just grab that one from up here. I'll just try that again, see if I can get that PowerPoint to load up. Oh, Doug, good job for you. You've been able to get it to open real quick. I think there might be something wrong with this computer. I want to try and persevere because I've got a couple of things here to show you tonight that'll hopefully get you ready for some activities next week. Let's just try that again, see if it comes up a bit quicker. Open fine from Moodle. Thanks, Michael. I think there might be a problem with this brand new computer they installed here. Did you guys get it to open okay? Maybe don't, you'll slow down the Wi-Fi in this room. Okay, so for those of you who have got it open, sorry?
I just downloaded off the internet and it worked.
Yeah, most of you are able to download it off the internet and it works. Okay. I think I might swap. That's going to be a nuisance. This one's seized. I think you can all. Can you hear me okay, Glenn? Can anybody let me know whether you're able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear it. Wollongong, Adrian.
Okay, thanks. I've just had to change computers. The other one's playing up there. So I'm hoping that's coming through okay.
Adrian, Griffith can hear you too.
Okay, thank you. Could you all mute your mics again? I'll just ditch the big brand new couple of $1,000 computer and I'll come back to this one. There's something wrong with that at the moment. We'll just leave that one for another day. Okay, so what I want to go through, I'm pretty sure you can all see this. And I'm probably not going to be able to show the full screen because that's going to be a bit awkward. Actually, I think I can on here. Yep.
Make sure
Somebody's got their microphone. Somebody needs to mute their microphone. I'm not sure if it's me. No, has somebody got their microphone on? You just mute it, that'll be great. Can you guys see okay in the classroom here? Not on this one, but on your computer? Yep. Okay, so I've got I want to go through to slide 7 and just show you some, I'll try and make this as big as I can so that it makes sense for you and ditch the notes. So hopefully you can see that okay. So pretty much on slide 7, I just wanted to show you a little bit about the NCC. The suite of books that are in the National Construction Code are called the NCC, and the individual volumes are generally often referred to as the BCA. So we've got BCA volume 1 and 2, and we've got the PCA, which is the plumbing code, as volume 3. And as you can see there, that applies to things like new constructions and change of use of a building. So recently we had a bunch of bushfires and they burned a lot of buildings. Those new buildings, when they go through their local government authority to get approved as a new building, they will be a new construction, okay? Or if they're an addition or an alteration, and I'm not sure what the government's going to do about this, but technically they should meet the new requirements of the National Construction Code, or the BCA. So imagine that, BCA volume 2, and you've got to meet that requirement from a building that you've had from a long time ago. That's where some of the issues come in. You can see I showed you that slide a minute ago about how to meet compliance. And then slide 11 goes through the 3 different sections of volume 2. So for example, volume 2, we've got the governing requirements, which we're not really where we have to apply by them, but we don't really use them much. We definitely be aware of section 2, which is the performance provisions. And our main place where we live is going to be the acceptable construction in section 3. So if we look at the code, and if we were to shrink, you can see, I think you can you all see, no, so I've shared the wrong screen here. I'll just go back and share my other screen here so you can actually see. I'll just share the program. That's actually not going to work. I'm going to have to. Going to work there. I'll just have to share the PowerPoint for now and come back to that one. So pretty much, I think you can see the PowerPoint there now. Can you guys see the PowerPoint? Nope. Let's jump in and show that PowerPoint. Can you all see the PowerPoint now? Yep. Can you see the PowerPoint? Nope, that's not working either. Now try. Billy, can you see the PowerPoint? Oh. Adden, are you on Teams? Is anyone on Teams? Use our TAFE internet. Glenn, can you, or someone at Now or somewhere, can you all tell me, are you able to see my Teams here? Can you guys jump on Teams so you can tell me if this is working? Can you see, what can you see on your screen? Can you see my PowerPoint?
No, we can't see anything.
Not working, Adrian.
Not working, right. We'll try again here.
No PowerPoint at Wollongong, Adrian.
Okay, let's try again.
Adrian, we just opened it up and we've just been following the pages you've been going on.
Okay. That might work better. This is free. Yeah. This will be real funny tomorrow night, won't it? Let's try that again. Now I think you can see. Okay, now you can see the pages that I'm talking about. So this one here talks about the different sections of the construction code. I want to go through now and focus on slide 14, which talks about the definitions. You guys listen in the classroom. When you see a word that's highlighted in the NCC, it refers to a legal definition. My key point there is you need to make sure that you go to the definition as defined in the code, not something you find on Google or somewhere else. It was actually a bit embarrassing at the quiz last week. I was walking around the classroom watching a lot of yous in this classroom, and someone had an NCC from years ago. Someone was just getting their knowledge from Google. Someone was getting it from the PowerPoints. You've got to make sure that whenever you want to get some knowledge from some information for building, you've got to go to the latest NCC, because that's the one that the inspector is going to use. So make sure that's where you go to for your information. Question, slide 15 shows an example of some definitions, and we've been over that heaps of times. Slide 16 shows us where the references come from, and there's 3 different types of references. We can have testing standards, which aren't really understandable by most of us. We can have design standards, which might be useful for us. They can relate to us, but definitely the installation standards is the main one that we're interested in. So when it comes to installation standards, that's where we go, for example, 1684, and that'll tell us things like the National Construction Code for the timber framing code for framing and things like that. So that's real useful for us. And then we go to slide 19. And I wanted to point out their explanatory information. So for a lot of the different, a lot of information that we come to in the code is going to need a little bit of an explanation, and that's just going to help us to be able to understand more information. You can see there, these are non-mandatory and informative only. They're used to give you some extra information. The next one that I'm going to look at there is slide 25, and I want to pick out from this one the performance provisions. So for example, for section 2, this is where we start to become a bit interested, and I've got some activities tonight on that. So for example, performance requirement might say for sound insulation, it might say walls separating dwellings must provide insulation against the transmission of airborne sound, sufficient to prevent illness or loss of amenity to the occupants. It doesn't tell you how thick it has to be, what type of material it has to be, or anything like that. It tells you how it has to perform. And then it's our job to go to section 3 and to find how we can actually do that. So that's slide 25. We go down now to 27. So slide 27 is the one where we mostly live, and that talks about acceptable construction from section 3. So for example, it'll deal with, in volume 2, it'll deal with class 1 to 10 buildings, and it has a number of different parts, and it's organised in a manner to follow the logical sequence of construction, okay, which is from the ground up in most cases. We need to go, we go to page, so we did 27, we're going to have a look at 28. On this is the importance of meeting either section 3 deemed to satisfy or the performance provision, and making a choice and which way we go. So for example, in section 3, which is for us, the practical aspects of construction, we have to make sure that we've used one of the 2 methods that are available. There's no obligation to meet, to adopt any particular option contained in the housing in section 3, as long as we're able to solve it from the performance requirement and show the appropriate, information to the appropriate authority, which would be our local inspector, that we're able to meet the performance requirement. That's the main thing, okay? And then slides 31 to 33 discuss acceptable construction practices and manuals. So in the deemed to satisfy provisions in section 3, we have acceptable construction practice, which reflects traditional construction techniques. And then we have acceptable construction manuals, and these are deemed to satisfy referenced documents, okay? So for example, an extract from 3.5.2 talking about tiling could refer to an Australian standard, okay? And then 33, I think, is the last page we're going to look at. Here's another example here. Oops. In slide 33, an extract from 3.5.2 talking about tiles. There could be a deemed to satisfy provision. Some of this is quite technical and quite detailed, so I've put that little part in there so that we can go through and have a look. Have a look at how that works. Now, I think coming up on your screen soon, you should be able to see the National Construction Code. And like I said to you the other night, if you were to shrink all the different expansion pieces on the side of on the bookmarks for the construction code, you'll pretty much be able to see what I was just talking about there tonight. So tonight's activities, and I'm going to start one in a second, to do with section 2 and a little bit into section 3. That's mostly where we live there in section 3. So let's go on now to have a look at, just got to change the screen that I'm sharing here. This is going to be a nuisance, but we'll work with me and we'll work our way through it. I think I might be able to share a window here. Maybe. Nope, that's not working. Got a couple of little issues to solve ready for tomorrow night. It's better to find that out now. So I'll just shut that PowerPoint down so we can, we don't have that one interfering with us. There we go, my desktop. Okay, so here we are back on this tonight. And what I'm going to do now, and I'll get you to jump onto your computers and have a look, is I'm opening up a quiz. It won't show up on this TV, so don't worry about that. But at home, you should be able to see this quiz. And I've opened up the first quiz for you. And I'm going to fire that up in a new tab here. And I'm going to actually, before I do it, actually before you open that quiz, just 1 second and I'll turn it so that it's not random, so we can all follow through at the same number. New page, navigation method, shuffle within questions, no. I'll just make it, so if you just close the quiz if you've already opened it and open it up, we'll all be able to go through at the same speed and we'll all complete it hopefully at the same time, because I want you to be able to, I'll just turn editing. Let's go on to just grab tonight's lesson, which is this one. You don't need to see yourselves in the corner. We're just going to go down to that quiz that's open there tonight. So that should be the bottom of your page. Just make sure that's working up here. And I'm going to go through the quiz. We should all start off on question 1, and you should all feel pretty confident to be able to answer this one. Now, just in case you're not, this is going to come from the beginning of the National Construction Code, which is talking about the governing requirements, I think is where we got that one from. Somebody type in the chat box if you find it before I do. And as we go down here, it's got that exact diagram. Here we go. So we've got performance solutions. Sorry, performance requirements, deemed to satisfy, I think it was, So we've got performance requirements is the overall guiding thing that we need. I'll just expand that a bit so you can all see a bit more. Bring that back there. So that should be pretty good. Everybody all good with that one? And then back in the NCC here, this is basically under an explanation of how it works. We've got a performance solution and deemed to satisfy solution. So you should be pretty right with that one. Everybody all good with that one? You guys all good with it here? We go to question 2. How you going, Adam? Are you going through it with us? Yep. So jump on to question 2, everybody, and you should see the same question I've got here. Is that what you've all got? Question 2 is almost, well, it is exactly the same. Performance requirements, performance solution. I think I put that in accidentally twice, sorry. There you go, that'll be an easy one for you. That's how important it was, we put it in twice. Just got to get rid of that extra little screen there. No, okay, Steve, we all good now? I think we probably are. That was 10 minutes ago you put that up. So I'm on the 2019. Thank you, Tariq, for asking that. We must be on the 2019 National Construction Code. If you're not in the 2019 one, just go to the top of your page for the lesson and make sure you get your construction code from the link at the top of the page. Make sure you get that one, because otherwise the numbers and things will be all over the place. I think a few people were having that trouble with that last when we did the quiz the other week. So the numbers that I've changed in here are based on the 2019 code, which is the latest one. Rightio, so this one says performance solution, alternative solution, means a method of complying with the performance requirements other than the deemed to satisfy. So that looks pretty good there, that'll be true. Tariq says yours is different. Did you get it from the, so everybody should be able to go to A2.1 and it should look the same. You just might not have the bookmark on the side, in which case you've just got to click on the bookmark option on the side there, or you might have to turn that on. If you accidentally hit the cross there, you'll turn it off, and then you've got to go up to the view here, and somewhere down there it tells you how to put the bookmarks back up again. I think it might be under navigation panes, and there's the bookmarks option there. So you maybe take a little photo of that if you're not sure with your camera, because I've turned it off a few times and I can't find it again. So Brody, you make sure you've got the 2019. Let's go right back to the cover. This is what it should look like. Volume 2, 2019, Building Code of Australia. If you haven't got that, then that's the first thing to locate, so that at least it looks correct. Otherwise, if you're a bit stuck with that there, all good. Thanks, Tariq. You're good, Brody. You might have it viewing a little bit differently depending on how you've set up your computer. So this is pretty much the same type of thing. Performance requirements are satisfied by one of the following. In this example, I'm going to go through to where that picture was, and there's a statement near there which that picks up from. If you see one like this, you might be able to just copy some wording and you can paste it into the search box up the top here, and generally that'll take you straight to it, which it has here. So you can get the little search box by pushing Control Find, or what was it on Macs? I think it's a Command F on Macs, and then you can type in a little what you've copied from your question. And so you can see here, once again, we're looking for a performance solution. Performance requirements are satisfied by one of the following: performance solution, okay, and deemed to satisfy, and a combination of them both. Okay, so that's all good. Let's do the last one here. This is very repetitive. I'm actually not going to complete mine because I won't be able to show others that I might need to show it to if we get stuck. So that's all pretty good. Now I'm going to open up a video here that I'll let you watch in your own time. It's actually quite good. It's a real simple way of giving you a real good overview of how this all works, and it's quite a practical one that comes up from the site. Now, what we want to do now is jump on and answer and get ourselves another little green box. So let's go through performance provisions list, and I want you to jump in and see if you can copy and paste from the construction code, volume 2, and list the 6 performance provisions. Shouldn't have put a hint in there for you, but let's leave it there for now anyway. So what you need to do there is jump onto, I'm going to let you have a go at it yourself for a few minutes. Jump on and see if you can put in at least 6 performance provisions from the performance provisions list. And we'll sit back here and let you have a bit of a go at that. Oh, there you go. Doug, thanks for that. Douglas, he's put in their table of contents, not bookmarks. So. This is going to be the second activity on your, I think that's coming up on your screen there. Let's just see what that looks like and make sure from a student's point of view that comes up. So you can watch the video in your own time. That's really good actually. But for now, just fill in the performance list. Let's see if anybody's put any up there. We can chat about it. And I'm quite okay if you copy and paste it. Righto, I think I might go and grab myself one. So, and list 6 performance provisions. There's some performance provisions. I might be first. Let's see if anybody else beat me. Oh no, someone else beat me. There you go. So I might need to put one up after all. Let's see what Tariq's put up there. There you go. He's got it. So the questions come up here. What did I search for? The question in our activity says, go to volume 2. So first thing, make sure you're in volume 2, and then list 6 performance provisions. So down here on the left-hand side, if we shrink all of these bookmarks, you can see here's performance provisions, and I clicked on that, and that came up with performance provisions. There's 8 of them there. These are performance provision. There's application, structure, damp and weatherproofing, fire safety, health and amenity, safe movement and access, energy efficiency, ancillary provisions, and additional construction requirements. So these are the main things we have to be aware of as builders and make sure we build our building according to those things. That can't be too hard, can it? It actually covers everything almost. So that's pretty much what we need in there, and we'll keep on going through them. So that's great there, Tariq. Anybody else been able to copy and paste them in? That's good. Good summary there. We've got performance. So what you've all located is a list of the things, and I won't go through too many more now. So you've located at the beginning of that section, which is section 2, the list of the performance provisions. If we were going to build a set of stairs, which one of those would we be most interested in? Call it out in the class or type it into the chat box if you're at home. If we were looking at a set of stairs, which one? Structure would be very important, but which other one might be as important? So safe movement and access. If we were looking at the waterproofing, good job, Jacob. If we're looking at the waterproofing for our roof, we'd have to make sure we meet the damp and weatherproofing. Dealing with fire would be fire safety. And that's how we work our way through those ones, so we can make sure that we're meeting all the requirements. So we'll just open up the next activity here for you. And this particular one now says, what do the performance requirements mean? In your own words, example, glass in buildings and safety. So if you're in volume 2, part 2, tell us what they mean. Here's an example for you. So P2.1.1, structural stability and resistance to actions. A building or structure must be built to avoid failure to all the load forces listed. Let's have a look at P2.1.1. There's point to. I don't think it's got a hyperlink to it, but if you click on the little box beside it, you can actually go to that quite quickly. And 211, which is shown here on my code, this particular case we're looking at, it must be built to avoid failure to all the load forces. So here it is here. A building or structure during construction and use with appropriate degrees of reliability must do all of those things, okay? And so basically, got to be able to perform adequately under all reasonably expected load actions, withstand extreme or frequently repeated design actions, be designed to sustain local damage with the structural system as a whole remaining stable and not being damaged to an extent disproportionate to the original local damage, and avoid causing damage to other properties. You can go for a definition of that by resisting the actions to which it may reasonably be expected to be subjected. So that's part A there. Part B is the actions to be considered to satisfy include but are not limited to things like dead loads, okay? That's the actual load of something where it's not moving. So it's not furniture. Furniture's a live load and us walking around and things like that. Dead loads is the building itself, okay, and that type of thing. Wind loads, earthquake action, snow action, there's a whole heap of loads and things that occur there. Termite action. So there's heaps and heaps of information, but there's nothing there that tells us measurements. There's nothing there that tells us the size of a concrete slab or the type of material in a concrete slab. So what I want you to do is here's the second one here, and then you're going to add a discussion about basically what do the performance requirements mean. So you pick out some things there. In 2.2.1 for surface water, an example is a building must be able to dispose of water from a 20-year storm. I'll go and show you 2.2.1. So 2.2.1, surface water resulting from a storm having an average recurrence interval of 20 years, which is collected or concentrated by a building or site work, must be disposed of in a way that avoids the likelihood of damage or nuisance to any other property. Straight away, you're probably got enough building knowledge to know that we can't have the rain affecting the footings and things like that and causing problems to the property or the neighbouring property. And so that's an example there. How to actually do that, we have to go to section 3, because remember we're still here in section 2, which is the performance requirement. So to get yourself a little green box, add a discussion topic here, and let's have a look at what you're putting in. Let's see what you've all put in here. Oh, we've got quite a few. So Bill's put in here. Define how well the system performs certain functions under specific conditions. Examples are speed of response throughout execution time. So Bill, what particular performance requirement? Oh, okay, you're generally talking about performance requirements there. Let's see what Tom's got in here. Thomas says fall prevention barriers. Very good. So he's dealing with fall prevention barriers. That's 252. So 2.5 is safe movement and access. And he's gone to point 2, which comes down here for fall prevention barriers. So that's excellent. And there's a bit of a detail about how that works. And while we're on that one, just let's have a quick look at that. This tells us a little bit of information. If you look at this here, it's got a little bit of information about some of the hazards that could be there, but it doesn't tell us how high a handrail has to be, does it? This talks about where a person could fall 1 metre or more, or from a floor or a roof. Okay, 2 metres or more from floor outside an openable window or a bedroom, 4 metres or more through a window, etc., etc. But this doesn't actually tell us how high the handrail has to be or what we have to do to stop people falling. It doesn't tell us that we have to lock the upstairs windows so that they can open no more than 125 millimetres. Okay, it doesn't tell us that. So that if you go into a new block of units that's got a fall outside the building of 2 metres or more, and the sill of the building from the inside is 1.7 metres or less to the bottom of the window, then that window should have something on it that stops the window opening any more than 125 millimetres. That won't be found here because we're in section 2. We'll look at that later, and that'll be found in section 3. Okay, so that's an example of how it works. This is broad information to tell us what what has to happen. So we'll have a look at what Lachlan's got here. It's good you're able to get on and join us there tonight with that. So a roof and external wall, including openings, must prevent the penetration of water that could cause unhealthy. That's awesome. Now, all of that is going to be detailed by the window manufacturer in an Australian standard, but that will be found in section 3, where that exact Australian standard will be listed. Okay, so for what's been put through there, for Lachlan, if you go down to the actual schedule of reference documents, and if we're able to do a quick search there on Windows, which will search from that point onwards, we'll see that Australian Standard 2047 is one of the documents, possibly the only one, but I'm not sure how many times the word Windows in there. But this is one of the ones where Australian Standard 2047, which we know how to access now, would be where we could go and find out exactly how a window is built to be able to withstand the forces that could occur. So you'll keep adding things in there, and that's just awesome. And you'll be able to get yourself a little green box and also a little bit of knowledge as you go through. So the next thing before we do our next activity here this evening is we want to go through some performance requirements, just a little bit here, and I'll show you what you actually put up there earlier. So you can see here from volume 2, there's some performance requirements, and there's an example of them, which we looked at. That covers most of the things with a building. And then when we look at the next one that I've put up there, I've put up for you a detailed list of the performance requirements. So this is just like a quick side view. If all of the little bookmarks were expanded on the side of your National Construction Code, there's a couple of quick links to be able to find the exact references for the performance requirements. So you can see here our first one was dealing with structure. Actually, there was one that was, just go and check that, there was one that was before that. We've got the actual application first. There's not a lot in that, but just basically gives us some summary. But then we go into structure, damp and weatherproofing, fire safety. But within each of those, there's further information. And so I've put that up there for you as a quick reference so you can find actually how to navigate your way around the volume 2 of the building code. And remember, section 2 is just the performance requirements. So a broad overview of how to build the building. And it's not going to tell you lots of the details. And here we have bushfires, buildings in bushfire prone areas, and that comes in under ancillary provisions. These are some things that have come in over the last 8 to 10 years. Then we look here at buildings in alpine areas. There have been some failures in alpine areas. What would be the main problem with a building has to be able to withstand in an alpine area? Fire, snow loads, things like that. So some of those areas, okay. And also we have to be able to have real good thermal efficiencies in alpine areas. So some places in the world, every building's got to be built to alpine areas, and in the US and Canada and some of those places, before they allow your building to be passed, you have to show a certified test by a person who comes in and pumps the building full of air and then tests for leaks, or they suck the air out of the building. I forget which one, but they test the building for how leaky it is, and they give you a certificate. And you have to go around and block up all the holes until it meets the requirements, and then you get your certificate, and then you can get your occupancy. So something we don't even deal with here in Australia, but it's important for us to understand that type of thing may come in, and it does make quite a bit of difference to how buildings are built. Now I'm just going to set this up so that we see all the questions on the one page, and I don't want to shuffle the questions because I'm going to go through this last activity here with you. So what I'm going to do is open up this last activity for the night, and when I finish here with this tonight, then you're done, and I'll do the activity here with you so that you can we can make sure that you're all on the one page. So I'm going to open up this last quiz, and as you can see, this is the last one for the night, and then we can go through this together and if you feel pretty confident you're good to go, then you can go and speed ahead. But if you want, you might pick up something if you stick with us and just watch it. So all of your questions, one should come up here to this one. Hopefully, is that what's happened for you all? Have you got this one come up as your first one? Question 1. Somebody just give us a thumbs up on the screen or let me know. Is that what you're all seeing? Has everybody got the same thing for question 1? No? Okay, I just got to go back in and adjust the settings and make sure that's... They should all, you're probably going to, you should be able to get them all up on the one screen. So, okay, so if you were to look at, you should get them all on the one screen here. So that might make it a little bit easier for you for this activity, because this isn't a quiz, this is just an activity for you. Does everybody have this one for question 1 at the top of their screen? No? Oh, no, I want it for question 1, so I just got to go back in and adjust the settings here. Oh, no, it's not that hard to find them, but I'm trying to make it easier for you so you can all have a good learning experience tonight, because we'll do some of these and they'll have a heap of questions. Michael, is it my navigation that's just needs adjusting there? Nope, free. Not sure about that. I'm not shuffling them. We'll see how we go with that anyway, as long as you can find your way around them. So I'm going to go through and hopefully, let's have a look at this here. Hopefully I didn't crash the whole thing. I'll just open that up in a new screen. I can see 73 people have been able to get a hold of that. If you know the answers, race ahead. I'm not sure whether you see what I'm seeing here, but in volume 2, select the correct performance requirements. That's pretty straightforward. 2.1. So for me, that's going to be, I can see there that structure. 2.2 is damp and weatherproofing. Some of you can see how quick I flick screens. For most of you, that's a swipe left with 2 or 3 fingers, or right, and that'll switch between the screens. You can actually lock your windows so that you can see them beside each other like that if you want to. That's taken a while to come through the Wi-Fi here, which is, maybe that's not going to come through. Oh, there we go. So for some of you, you can set it up so that you can see both screens like that. Not sure if that's probably going to be a bit confusing for some of you there. So I'm just going to switch between screens. So part 2.2 is damp and weatherproofing. And you just work your way down there. Part 2.3 is fire safety. 2.4, health and amenity. 2.5, safe movement and access. Not real hard, is it? 2.6, energy efficiency. There you go, on to the next question. Is the following statement true or false? Wet areas, 2.4.1. Well, let's go to 241. We can expand this out to 0.1 just right there. So 2.4.1, I'll just make that a bit bigger so you can see. So 2.4.1, to protect the structure of a building to maintain amenity behind the fittings into concealed places. This is real important because I visited a building recently that the carpenter had been, the plumber had been, the tiler had been. So the plumber put all the roughages out. The tiler came, roughed in around all the pipes. The plumber came, fitted off the taps and never bothered to silicon between the tiles and the taps. And then the building started leaking into the downstairs plasterboard, had to be all replaced. And that was because of this exact sentence right here. That one there, actually. So to protect the structure of the building and to maintain the amenity of the occupants, water must be prevented from penetrating behind fittings and linings. That was exactly the problem. The plumber came in, siliconed around the tiles, around the fittings, and everything was fine, no more leaks. But that was probably a $5,000 repair right there for that job. So this one here will be true. Now, this is probably, what I just said then has probably gone over half of your heads, but sometimes you need to make sure that that's not you that gets caught up in something like that, because that'll be a problem for you. Like I said to you earlier, every single thing you do in building has a piece of paper or a document somewhere that specifies exactly what should happen. And here's example for the plumber. And all you have to do now that you have access to it all is make sure that you search for it and access it so that you build the buildings correctly. and then we have less faults and failures and callbacks and things like that. So this particular one says from volume 2.2, which is going to be up here, health and amenity. It says select the correct choices to complete the sentences below. Rising damp, moisture from a ground must be prevented from causing, and that's possibly going to be in here somewhere, fairly easy to find. 2.2, oh, go back to 2.2. And if you're stuck for finding one of these, just grab a little bit of the wording there, maybe a little bit of that wording and copy that and put that into your little search button up the top here, and that'll probably go straight to it, which it has, 2.2.3. In this particular case, I didn't tell you 2.2.3 because you have to be able to find your way around as well. So that says unhealthy or dangerous conditions or loss of amenity for occupants. That one goes in there. Now, I had a student a little while ago couldn't make this happen, and that's because he was using Microsoft Edge. So you try and make sure you're using Chrome for everything so that it works better. Undue dampness or deterioration of building, what's that one? Undue dampness or deterioration of building elements. Not that hard really, is it? This one here is dealing with room heights. This is a common question that comes up, and it did amongst some home builders I was talking to recently. And the question, they basically had to redo all the stairs for the building which had been built because they didn't meet the requirement. So it's real good to understand how things are built. If you build it less than what's listed, then you'll have to pull the stairs down and rebuild them. Okay, this is 242, which is dealing with 242 is dealing with room heights. And in this case here, 242, a room or space must be of a height that does not unduly interfere with its intended function. If you build a set of stairs and the occupants kept on hitting their head, obviously that's no good. Out of interest, I'm not sure. Let's just see if we've got a question on this coming up. I think I asked you exactly what the measurement was for stairs coming up. So let's have a look at the next one here. Select the most appropriate performance requirement for the following identification. So this is dealing with a building in a flood hazard area. That's dealing with floods and all those types of things. So there's 4 options there. I'm going to take a stab in the dark at it and see. It might be one of those top 2, and let's have a look and see that this is dealing with floods. And we're looking at, I'm going to suggest 2.1.2. 2.1 is structure. Just going to expand that a little bit and go to 0.2, buildings in flood areas. A building in a flood hazard, oh, that looks like about the same wording. And that looks pretty good. So if I just copy a bit of that and paste it into here, that's come up with it there. So that's P 2.1.2. That one up there. Okay. What's 2.1? Structural stability and resistance to actions. 2.1, structural stability. 2.1 is just basically structure. Okay, so that's all good. Next question, question 6. Are these questions flowing sequence one after the other for you all? Oh, you got to search around for them. Sorry about that. I'll try and fix that next time. Complete the following choices based on the structural requirement for glass. So if you have a glass door at the back of your house, you'll notice there should be some little indicators and marks across that door. And that's because of this. So this particular one, glass installations that are at risk of being subjected to human impact. It's telling us there to go to 2.1, but you shouldn't need any hints anymore. So let's have a look at 2.1 here. And I think from memory, glass was down towards the bottom. There we go. Glass installations at risk of being subjected to human impact must have glazing that, if broken on impact, will break in a way that's not likely to cause injury to people. Resist a reasonably foreseeable human impact without breaking. Is protected and or marked in a way that will reduce the likelihood of human impact. So if broken, will break in a way that's not likely to cause injury. I think was the right one there. To people. Resist a reasonably foreseeable human impact without breaking. That's why it's normally toughened or laminated glass. And the way that they do glass so it avoids injury is they toughen it so that when it breaks, it drops into little harmless bits of glass on the ground, and you don't have shards and things. Is protected or marked in a way that will reduce the likelihood of human impact. Okay, so that comes straight from this particular part of the codes there under structure. Somewhere there. All right, this next one here is barriers. Complete the following from volume 2 of the NCC, where people could fall something or more. That particular case is a metre, but let's have a look. 252. In this case here, we're dealing with 2.5.2, which is back down here, safe movement and access. 2.5, so where people could fall a metre or more from a floor or roof through an opening other than through an openable window in the external wall, I'm thinking that is, in the external wall, or due to a sudden change of level within or associated with a building, or B, 2 metres or more from a floor through an openable window in a bedroom, or C, 4 metres or more from a floor through an openable window not covered in B. A barrier must be blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's information there for us about barriers. That's an example of what it says. But nowhere there does it tell us what height a barrier has to be. We look at that later when we look at section 3. So from reference to part 2.2 damp and waterproofing in volume 2, choose the correct answers to complete the sentences. A roof and external wall, including openings around windows and doors, must prevent. So we're talking here 2.2 damp and weatherproofing. I'm going to just shrink some of these back here so I can see part 2.2. Go back here to section 2. Part 2.2, we'll jump in here to this one, and we're dealing with 2.2 weatherproofing. From reference to that, a roof and external wall, including openings around windows and doors, must prevent. So a roof and external wall, including openings around windows and doors, must prevent the penetration, maybe that's the word. That looks like that's a good one, of water that could cause A, unhealthy or dangerous conditions. Okay, unhealthy or dangerous conditions, or loss of, the word there is probably amenity. Yep, there's the word amenity. Loss of amenity for occupants, that means use or comfortableness or things like that. And undue, this is B, dampness. Okay, how you all going with these? Good. And or deterioration of building elements. Unfortunately, a building I inspected recently had none of those things in it. So as a result, that the garage is going to have all the plasterboard torn off the ceiling. There's going to have to be all the tiles on the deck above it torn up, re-waterproofed correctly with good falls according to the codes and the standards to be able to shed the water correctly. And that'll probably run into thousands of dollars as well, because the building's been there for probably 10 or more years, 15 years, but there's walls that have been rotted out and all those types of things. So you need to make sure that you be aware of these types of things. The roof and external wall, including openings, must prevent the penetration of water that could cause unhealthy, dangerous conditions and deterioration of the building elements. Now, this next one is going to introduce you to section 3. And what we're doing this one is we're going from section 2 and we're going to show you some specific information on section 3. And this is going to introduce us to stairs, where I showed you earlier information about how the stairs need to have a certain amount of headroom. So for this particular one, we're looking here on section 2, and it says so that people can move safely to and within a building, walking surfaces. So let's go here to safe movement and access. And that's probably it right there. So that people can move safely to and within a building, walking surfaces must have safe gradients. So we got safe gradients, okay? And any stairway or ramp must have suitable something or other, must have suitable handrails. There you go. Where necessary. Where might it not need handrails? Can anybody tell me where you might not need handrails? In between two walls, somebody's called out here. I would still suggest that you need handrails, especially as you get older. I heard somebody say once, how do you grow old and not be injured? You use the handrail, okay? So that's an example of, it's even a good idea to have handrails in between walls. So then point 2 there is have suitable landings. What's the purpose of a landing when we're dealing with changing of levels? For rests and to be able to allow you to, your wheelchair, get your brakes to work again, all those sorts of things. So it's real important that you have landings, and you can't go more than a certain distance on slopes or in steps before you have to have a landing, okay, for most housing type buildings. So there's point 3 and 4, be suitable for safe passage in relation to the nature, volume and frequency of likely usage, have slip resistance walking surfaces, especially near the edge of the nosing. That's why a lot of buildings will have, the nosing will be particularly safe. Now here's where we do a quick introduction to section 3. And the question here is the minimum ceiling height in a stairway, ramp, landing or the like must be not less than how much? Has anybody got any ideas on that one at all? So we're looking at, someone's called out here 2 metres. We're going to obviously go to section 3. We're going to have to go to safe movement and access. So I'll just expand that one out there. Come back here to, where did safe movement and access go? Here it is here. So we'll jump into safe movement and access. We've really only got 2 options in this one. Number 3 has been left blank because it's not needed anymore. But we're talking here about stairway and ramp construction. And as you look through there, you can see examples of acceptable construction practice, and then we come to handrails and things. And I've had 2 metres called out here. Can somebody tell us where they found that information? So this is much more specific than what we were dealing with in the general requirement, because generally it just says make sure that so that people can move safely to and within a building. Expand on from there through to section 3, and our answer is going to come up with a minimum ceiling height, and it comes in here. Billy, can you tell us where you found that 2 metres? Oh, Billy said 2 metres because he's doing it at TAFE, and that's what his teacher told him. It is actually 2 metres, that's the answer, but I just want you all to be able to find it. And so the first person to find, so 3822F, thank you very much for that, Paul. 3822F. 3822F. Paul, were you referring to? Oh, yes, I think that was the one. Room heights. So 3822. Jared said it's not 2 metres, I can tell you that much. Oh, different question, sorry. So 3822F, here we go. We're following Jared's, Paul's line of thought here at the moment. So the full sentence here says, heights of rooms and other spaces must be not less than, in a stairway, ramp, landing or the like, 2 metres measured vertically above the nosing line of stairway treads. So there's your answer to that one. Very good. Thank you, Billy and Paul. You did very good there. Oh, this is the last one. So this one says, refer to the NCC Volume 2, Part 2.4, Health and Amenity. What are the correct performance requirements for the P numbers shown? So 241, we're in section 2, and we can just go quickly to this one here. There's a summary of it. And I think the first one there's 241. Oh, we're going to have to expand 2.4, which we can do here, or just go to 2.4. I think this is going to work a bit easier. So 241's wet areas. 242 is going to be room heights. 243, personal hygiene. 243, personal hygiene and other facilities. 2.4.3. Oh, I don't think I had that one there. Facilities. 244, lighting. 4.5, we've got ventilation. And then we've got sound ventilation, I think was the last one there. Good job. Submit all and finish, and you'll be all good to finish that activity. So just want to spend a couple of minutes making sure you're all good and catch up, make sure nobody's got any questions. We've pretty much covered so far all we're going to for a little while on performance requirements. And tomorrow night, we're going to start a bit more on section 3 and start working through that. So hopefully everybody's all good with that. I haven't got any more activities or anything there for tonight, but I do want to encourage you to jump on tomorrow night. If you need help during the day, just give us a yell and let me know. Monday to Friday from 10 o'clock onwards, I'm in the classroom, in the office. So just text me or something, and I can help you there. And remember, our main aim is to be able to help you get through this unit successfully. So turn your mic on, have a chat if you like, and let us know how you're going. I'm going to hand it over to any of the other teachers who had a question or anything, any points to make on anything that we've gone through.
Adrian, we're going to turn off the recording now.